Abort 2. It launched atop a U.S. Air Force booster carrying a boilerplate, or non-functional, version of Orion, and successfully performed the abort maneuvers, proving that the LAS will be ready for its first launch, Artemis 1. Construction of the VAB required 65,000 cubic yards of concrete, 45,000 steel beams, 1 million steel bolts amounting to almost 100,000 tons of steel. Notice the flag painted on the outside of the VAB? It's the size of a 21-story building. The blue section alone is the size of an NBA basketball court. Each star is 6 feet across, and each red and white stripe is wide enough for this bus to drive down. And the entire VAB? It's so huge that the Roman Colosseum would fit on the roof with room to spare for a parking lot. By volume, the VAB can fit 3.5 Empire State Buildings, and it would take 250 billion ping pong balls to fill it.
NASA is known for dreaming big, and big dreams require big equipment. I'm standing next to the Crawler Transporter, the largest self-powered land vehicle in the world. It was originally built in 1965 for the Apollo program, and has since been updated to accommodate the space shuttle and now NASA's SLS rocket. Weighing in at 6 million pounds and capable of lifting and hauling 18 million pounds, the Crawler is an engineering marvel, even without a rocket sitting on top of it. This thing has 2,750 horsepower V16 diesel engines that can carry the Crawler up to a top speed of, wait for it, 1 mile per hour while carrying a rocket. Keep an eye out for the Crawler as we approach this area. And remember, we are visiting a working spaceport, so while the Crawler may not stay in one area for very long, it's bound to be out here somewhere. Now, let me introduce you to my friend, John Giles, the Crawler project manager.
I'm standing in front of Crawler Transporter number 2 at the Kennedy Space Center. Crawler Transporter number 2 will be used for the SLS program to take the launch vehicle back and forth to the pad. We will begin by going underneath the mobile launcher. We'll pick it up, we'll take it over to the VAB. They'll then assemble the launch vehicle on top of the mobile launcher, and then we'll come back to the VAB. We'll slide underneath it again, we'll pick it up, we'll take it out to the pad, the trip of about 4.2 miles. It'll take us about 7 hours to get there. But during our trip to the launch pad, we'll roll over a specially prepared crawler weight that consists of anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of special rock. Below that is limestone that's about 4 feet thick and compressed to hold the weight of the crawler and the mobile launcher. And then below that is some hydraulically compacted sand that can support all the weight. And then once we're there, we'll drop it all off. And then a few days later, there'll be a launch. We'll come back, we'll pick the mobile launcher up, and we'll bring it back to the VAB to start the process all over again.
With 50 years and some 3,000 kilometers or 2,000 miles on the clock, NASA expects the crawlers to be in operation for at least another 3 decades. How cool is that? The latest refurbishment is complete, and preparation is well underway for the first SLS mission. The crawler will be doing what it was originally designed to do once again, which is moving rockets.
So some of you may have noticed the crawler way to the left of the bus. It's those 2 rocky paths. The crawler uses both of those, spans over that grassy median. So that's a one-way road. And I'm told that's as wide as an 8-lane highway. So I always think of the Crawler Transporter when I'm driving through Atlanta. How fun would that be to drive it? Coming up on the left, you can see Crawler number 2 parked here at the halfway point between the launch pad and the vehicle assembly building. Each one of those rusty-colored cleats on its tracks weighs over 1 ton. Times 57 cleats per track, times 8 tracks. That's right, those of you that are older like me will remember 8 tracks. There's a lot of jokes about that. And so the deck is what raises and lowers in order to lift up that mobile launch platform from underneath. Now on the corner closest to us, you'll notice like a cab-looking area. The Crawler Transporter has 2 cabs, one on this front corner and then one at the opposite back corner, caddy corner, because you don't want to have to drive that big rig in reverse. So the driver just walks around to the other cab, then drives straight out. If you look straight ahead of me, you'll see a tall black gantry with a white lightning mast on the top. That's Launch Pad 39A, originally used to launch Saturn V moon rockets, modified in order to SLS rocket, standing 322 feet tall. When it launches, it will have 8.8 billion pounds of thrust. Okay, that is over 1 million pounds more thrust than the Saturn V rocket that took humans to the moon back in the 60s and early 70s. And so it will have even more rocket rumbles to shake your insides when it launches. Now, considering looking at it, it's kind of a marriage between the Saturn V and the Space Shuttle, where it has the main rocket body with the capsule on top, with the launch escape tower on the top of that. But like the Space Shuttle, it has the 2 white solid rocket boosters on either side of it, with an extra segment added to both to give more lifting power, to get that heavy vehicle out of the surly bonds of Earth's gravity. Now you may have also noticed that going up to the top of that launch pad, there's an incline. So how do you roll that rocket up there in the vertical position without, you don't want to tip that way back like that. They designed the crawler transporter to account for that. So the rear end of the crawler transporter will rise up as the front goes up the incline to keep its top completely horizontal and that rocket completely vertical. A couple cars behind me, so I'm going to go around to the side so they can pass me and we can take our time. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? So notice how that gray platform, the mobile launch platform on which the rocket is standing, has that gap underneath of it. That's the space where the crawler transporter would drive underneath of it and then raise its deck to lift that up to take it back to the vehicle assembly building. The crawler does not want to be underneath that rocket when it launches. And you may be wondering, why is there that big hill? They found as rockets got more and more powerful that all that rocket exhaust coming out of the bottom of the rocket hitting a flat surface would rebound that power, that energy, to come back up and destroy the rocket. So starting with the Redstone rockets, they put a little flame deflector underneath of it. It kind of looks like a traffic cone to help deflect that exhaust to either side. And as the rockets got bigger and bigger, they realized those flame deflectors needed also to be bigger and bigger to turn all that exhaust energy away. Coming up close, you can see a lot of tripods. That's right, camera mounts. Launches are probably one of the most photographed things to happen, other than perhaps royalty weddings. And notice how the fence curves out towards us? Do you know the reason for that? It's because alligators can climb a straight 6-foot chain link fence. That's right. It's curved outward because the alligators aren't strong enough to hang on with their little toes going up. So trying to get inside the launch pad, they fall back. So this is as close as we get to the launch pad, but we're driving over to what's called the camera pad AB. And that's where we'll get to get off the bus.
That was really nice.
Well, just for a few minutes, I'm afraid.